Now, we've been talking about the effects of COVID-19 on the economy, right? And also, we've seen the government trying to release some of the restrictions that are put in place, asking, for example, the restaurant businesses to reopen, but with some conditions. And some of those conditions include that you have to take all your staff for COVID-19 tests, then they get certified as COVID-19 negative, and then you open your restaurant. But also you must observe this physical distancing within the restaurant. So a restaurant, if a table was for 4 people, now you've got to make sure that there's 1 meter distance all round per person seated in the restaurant. What does that mean? That means that you basically reduce your sitting capacity.
Why does one stay at home?
So you have just maybe one waiter, or just continue operating the way they've been operating, which is a takeaway business. And how is a takeaway business doing also? I think we need to find out. Maybe we're just assuming that takeaway business, people have been taking away where? People are at home. Going online. Have they really gone online? Is it working? Is it not? But then also, now that we're in the COVID era, so the post-COVID era, what's going to happen to the hospitality industry? Will you just walk into a hotel and book a room and enter the room and you see a bed has been made and you're like, good.
Nice.
If
Or do
there
you want
will
some
be a
guarantees?
post-COVID era.
If there will be a no, this big one, this deep one. We'll live with COVID, yes.
Dr. Mercy is trying to tell you that we are here.
Yeah.
We're here.
We're already in the
We're
post-COVID
here.
era.
Yeah, I was seeing in the West, I think it was in Europe, where the hotel has, there's a hotel that decided to put up mannequins and dress them up so that, because now you have to have a 1 meter distance, so that people don't feel like there are no other people in the restaurant, because you can imagine you've reduced your capacity by half. So they've put up mannequin, well dressed, having dinner in the tables.
So
where
you come
there'll
and
be
sit
space.
here and then
But that's the thing. I
you have
think,
mannequins around you.
with
You
restaurants,
can have a conversation with them.
Well, okay, and then
No,
you
no.
would be certified as a bit crazy, but all right. The thing is that with restaurants, it's social gathering. That's the connotation that comes with it.
Yeah.
It's that people come together to then go into an establishment like this to not just enjoy the food, but then to enjoy company.
Yeah.
So then now when you take away that element from it with this whole social distancing, it then defeats the purpose of going into a restaurant for social gathering. Now, looking at the comparisons between how people then gather within restaurants and what they do it for, very few people go to sit alone and eat at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Most people who sit alone want to do something really quickly and then they leave. But the majority of people who attend these establishments do it for the food and the company.
Yeah.
So then having one person sit 3 meters apart or whatever from the other, and then it just defeats the purpose of having gone to a restaurant.
Because
in the
for a
first
restaurant,
place.
basically, book the entire restaurant, so all of you are sitting there. You're
Yes.
all across each other, so you can shout at each other, but it's only you people
who
are
will
in that
be there? It's only
proximity.
your party
Yeah.
that will.
So you
that
can
will
have
be
your
in
conversation.
attendance.
Otherwise, if you're having a conversation across table and the next table people are having their own conversation, it just becomes
It's
a
a
shouting match.
marketplace.
It just becomes a shouting match.
Yeah.
Let's speak to a hotelier, and this is the general manager of the Villa Rosa Kempinski and the Olare Mara Kempinski. His name is Roberto Simone. Good morning, Roberto.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome to the Situation Room, and thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
You've heard what we are talking about in our intro, the kind of challenges
Exactly.
that you would have, even presently, with opening up restaurants.
Yeah, there are many challenges. Let's say the first one is, of course, to comply with the protocol, which is not only Kenyan protocol, but will be worldwide more and more very, let's say, important for the customer. The second one, as you said, the number of people you can accommodate, which of course for us is not an issue because we have a lot of space, but there will be many places they have to reduce of half the capacity. This will make not feasible the business venture. The third one is the level of atmosphere, a gathering mood you get with a half-empty restaurant.
Yeah.
But of course, this is at the immediate effect, let's say.
Now, if we look at the restaurants that you have at Villa Rosa Kempinski, pick one. Just give us one of the restaurants that you have.
Example, Luca is one of the one we open as the first. We will open as the first. We are working already to comply with the government regulations. It has enough space to maintain, let's say, the mood and the feeling, because we have a 2 terrace plus an internal space. Plus, we have another 2 restaurants above. Plus, we have a lobby. We have the K lounge. As a Kempinski, we are very lucky. Let's say we have a generosity in the spaces to accommodate people. You say maintain the physical distancing. let's say we are not concerned on that side. We are more concerned how will be the consumer behavior in the immediate time, midterm, and long term. That is the key point.
But also looking at that business. So let's say if you're talking about the Luca and you're opening it up, you have space, yes, but the number of tables that you had set up initially has drastically reduced. Does it make sense to operate that restaurant?
Absolutely. Now, in our review, first of all, we have an hotel to run, which is, of course, very successful. In that specific case, we can integrate the Luca business venture with the home delivery experience, which is not only takeaway. We are developing a project where practically we will bring a Luca experience at home if you want. It's not only to deliver to you the pizza or the lasagna, but if you want, we can build a party to your home. So there will be part of our venture will be focused on your home delivery example. You can integrate your business. You have to be creative. You cannot step back just because in this moment we have these difficulties.
Yeah.
Okay. Roberto, looking at the part of the restaurant business is, or rather the hotel business, is holding meetings, workshops and things like that. How is this going to change? How are you planning to still have these, still maintain physical distance, still serve guests? Because most of these meetings, workshops and the like do buffet. How is the business going to adapt and change so that we keep to all these measures that we are required to keep?
Okay, the first things, the buffet in the immediately are not feasible anymore as used to be. Of course, we have to change the food offer as to be most likely seated dinner or seated lunch with some made solution in the middle of the table. And yesterday we were discussing with my team how we will solve the problem of the spoon, the spoon in the middle of the table. So we have to find those kind of, let's say, we have to adapt to the business. Thanks God we have our Kempinski, let's say, corporate office, which is coming up with a new project, a new way to deliver the service. The number of meetings will be, of course, less and smaller. Because, of course, the gathering at the beginning will not be very popular, of course, because even though you want to launch a conference with 300 people, doesn't matter if it's allowed or not, the consumer behavior in the immediate time, in the next 6 months, 12 months, will be do not attend the meeting, will be more a virtual meeting than a physical meeting, okay? Yeah. So we will have a very small meetings, right? You have to be, we have to adapt our business model to these new demands.
And what does adapting mean for the business? I'm looking at, if you look at one of your conference rooms, say a room that you initially could say would hold 200 people in theater style, now would have to hold a quarter of that, but you still have the same space, the same room, you still have the same bills to pay. So what does that mean? Am I going to pay more to host a meeting at your hotel?
No. First of all, you have to obey what is something which is a market demand. You have to be competitive in terms of price and the value you deliver. If the meeting room is 200 people, like in our case, we are lucky because we can divide the room in 3, 4, 5 different smaller rooms, of course. And in a way, you keep a competitive your positioning. The problem is, in this moment, all of us, we have 2 immediate issues. Number one, to keep floating the business entity, which means to protect the cash flow and protect employment. And the second major issue is in the long term, how we will going to position and operate this business model in the future. And this is still an unknown factor for everyone in the world, because the immediate behavior of the consumers will be COVID compliance, how good is in this place. When the vaccine will be found, the consumer will change so much the behavior that will be a different level of consumer. So as this COVID, which is an unprecedented event, is really disruptive, is changing the consumer behavior of the entire generation of millennials, a general set consumer. Those behavior will be there for the next 10 years. Today, of course, hand sanitizer will be the must. Maybe in 5 years will be less, but still will be there. So we have to change we call the guest flow. Is totally different. How we approach how the customer arrive at the restaurant, what he has to do, how we will welcome, what the waiter has to say, what that the first thing. Most likely, will not present the menu as the first things to do, but will sanitize the end of the customer. So those are the things the customer expects from us, to be attentive to protect them, and then will come the product delivery. They will change completely the entire business proposal.
Roberto, I want to look at, because a lot of times you use examples of what have happened in other countries, then to say maybe that's how we should deal, or at least to help us to learn. Now, if you look at some countries, I want to look at Germany, for example, who then opened up. And people, they said, okay, children go back to school. At least let's start phasing this in. Restaurants open. And then we saw triple of the cases 6 days, 1 week after. Do we lie here in Kenya in any danger of that from your perspective? If we open this up now and allow patrons to come back into restaurants, for example, do you see any danger in the rise of infections?
I'm not a scientist, not a virologist. There are enough out there. Okay, there are many. In this moment, there are many theories. The theory to pursue the herd immunity, like in Sweden, example, like in Germany now, or the one to keep the lockdown to let the curve flatten down, which is not flattening down because it's flattening down, but keep consistent number of contagious. This is a very high-speed virus, let's say, and this is what is making really dangerous the virus. What we have to wait with the vaccine. When the vaccine will come on board, will come in the world, of course, things will change. But until that time, I'm sure they will deliver some therapy to, let's say, treat the virus like a very strong flu in a certain way. The hotel, what they will need to do, the hotel and the restaurant, to adapt them to keep the physical distancing, the hand sanitizer, all these things. Of course, there are risks there if you do like in Germany. For example, on the 18th of this month, Italy, where I come from, they will open all the cafe restaurants in Italy. Now, if somebody has visited Italy, it's like France, they are the cafe where the physical distancing is 30 centimeters. Those kind of places will open, and we will have in 20 square meters, 30 people eating, taking coffee, cappuccino, or slice of pizza. How this will happen? In Europe, there are, let us say, there are two different common thinking. The one which is stay home, and the one says, let's say, let's live continue, because we cannot block the economy. We are running risk, this is for sure. But if we put in place physical distancing and, let's say, all the supervised sanitizing, and as well the testing of the staff, this will risk, of course.
Okay. Roberto, what say you of the government measures for your kind of business to open up, the testing which you're supposed to foot, all these measures, looking at your kind of business, even to the small scale, do you think this is encouraging, or do you think it's punitive? What do you have to say about all this?
Every regulation is an hurdle, is a challenge in the customer, let's say, willingness to buy service or goods. It happened in 2001, after 11 September, when I was in the United States at the time. We thought the world was at the end. And then at the airport started the control, your check-in takes 3 hours before. We said no one will travel. And the people continue to travel. Now it's much more critical because it's a worldwide affair. It's worldwide issues. The world will adapt. There will be a process will be online, virtually. There will be a process which will require physical presence. Of course, let's say, see all this regulation as additional cost, additional efforts, additional, let's say, problems. But it's the only way to go. How we can address one day for sure, and if you want to have as a supplier or client and a European company, we have to provide all the COVID protocol in place. We have already. McKinsey is coming to visit us because Kempinski just launched white gloves protocol, which is a COVID protocol in a luxury way, which embraces not only the restaurant but the housekeeping, all the about the hotel. And the McKinsey, which is one of our global, let's say, clients, is visiting most of the Kempinski to see at which stage is the protocol. It's a new way to go. So we have to do it.
So with this additional cost, trying to adapt, trying to stay afloat, how are you able to manage? And one of the things you said in this interview is like you're trying to manage your cash flows. What are these measures, or tricks, if I may call them, that you're using to survive that possibly other people could borrow from you?
Well, we try to see across the various processes and our operational process to see how some process can be, let's say, merged and bring saving, and this saving use it to implement the new regulation. But let's say demystify a fact. This cost is the sanitizer, the liquid, the detergent, the physical distancing, which is reducing your sitting capacity, and the training for your team. Are not impossible costs, let's be clear. Our cost can be managed. We had other implementation which are more costly. Example, the HACCP standard or the ISO certification is by far more costly than the COVID implementation, as it is now. As it is now. The most heavy cost is the testing of the staff every 15 days. But with the new, let's say, communication, where the test will cost 1,000 per person, every employee costs you 2,000 shilling per month, is $20. You have to imagine that normally every day, each of our associates on shift is going through 15 minutes briefing, okay? That 15 minutes are paid briefing without working. Imagine how big is this cost if you multiply for all my 400 associates for 365 days a year. It's by far much higher than the COVID testing.
Than the COVID testing.
Of course, if we pay the COVID testing 10,000 shilling per person every 15 days, that is the cost. But as it has announced that 1,000 shilling is the kind of cost you can manage within your business cash flow, of course.
And is government supporting the hospitality industry, the hotel business in any way? Because if you ask me, government, because it's in the interest of government that everyone is in business, they should have then foot this 1,000 shillings or $10, $20 a month cost. Is government supporting you in any way to make sure you are back in business as soon as possible, because the economy depends on you?
Well, they are facilitating us in a certain way. First of all, they are communicating constantly with us, keeping us updated, giving all the latest information. Now we implement the protocol, what kind of elements have been the protocol. They ask us to bring our objection and suggestion, of course. And in terms of the COVID testing, they made it feasible to become at the cost of 1,000, while on the market, if you go any authorized center, you don't pay less than 6,000 or 8,000. So this is a huge help, of course. They are trying to push and to help us to open as soon as possible, because they understand that tourism for Kenya is not only important for the weight they have within the GDP, but imagine every international customer coming in Kenya for tourism, at the end they bring back impression about Kenya. Tourism is the real ambassador for Kenya as a brand. If the tourism goes well, this facilitates any other business, any other foreign direct investment, because it shows Kenya this is easy place to make a business. People are really lovely, country is beautiful. And let me add something else. I'm working in 6-7 countries in Africa. The best hotel service in Africa is in Kenya. And the really risk we have, we don't make the hospitality really react to these events, is to lose a lot of people and lose a part of the hospitality IP in Kenya. If today you go in Dubai, you find so many Kenyan in a key position in the hotels. It was not used like this 10 years ago. And why the reason that Kenya succeed in UAE, Dubai, which is one of the major tourist hubs? Because Kenya, they have God gave the natural spirit, the natural smile, and most important, one of the most educated people in Africa. Speak very good English, and of course they succeed. So if you are not fast and very effective in protect the hospitality as a sector, we will lose people moving in, let's say, in farming or in other sectors. This is called a deindustrialization, let's say, process, which at the end up in the losses of the IP.
Are you comfortable with what government is doing, or do you think they can do better to support you?
In Italy we complain about the government every morning. Monday we
So do we.
Monday morning, 55 million Italians talk about football. They are all football team, football coach. Tuesday, 55 million Italian prime minister. Okay, everyone complain about the government. Every government does according its capabilities. What I can say, they've been fast. The Minister of Tourism has been very reactive. He's communicating with us constantly, and Kenya deal with budget like every country. And thanks God, this IMF contribution will help the Kenya to support this moment. Everyone would like to be like a Germany, which put out an unparalleled package to help the economies. Imagine Germany alone put in the economy almost how much put the European Central Bank for the entire Union.
Yep.
We are talking about the most maybe rich country in the world. There are different things. Kenya does what can do according to the budget, according its capabilities. But they have been fast. We cannot say nothing.
Let's start projecting, Roberto. Sorry, let's start projecting now and see at the Villa Rosa Kempinski or the hotels within Nairobi. How soon do you see reopening of the proper hotel business? And then you also run a safari business in the Mara. How soon do you see the Mara hotels opening?
Okay, Villa Rosa, we will be, the team is there working for the implementation of all the protocol. As soon we already apply to get inspected. When we are ready, we open. We don't open before, then we are sure that all the various provisions mentioned in the protocol are not satisfied. We will not open before. We will open when we are ready. I think within May, we will do it. For Olarimar is different. Olarimar implementation are not complicated because the physical distancing there is okay. It's only 12 tents. There is enough space to do anything. The problem is the marketability of the products.
Yep.
Because 90% depends from international market. No matter when Kenya opened the border, but the problem is when the European Union opened the border, when the American opened the border, and when the Middle East opened the border, which are the three major market feeders. So I see Olarimara back in the business, let's say, being optimistic, not before... we hope for July, August, but I think we'll take a bit more.
I think realistically, even looking at how soon are people going to be ready to take a holiday and to afford a holiday?
European border, intra-European community will open soon because, of course, there is a European Schengen treaty.
Yeah.
Open the border with the flights going out from Europe and vice versa to exotic destination, I think will happen not anytime soon. It will take some months, Now, among the consumer behavior, there will be some traveler which is very cautious in Europe. There will some traveler who will not care. For example, Italians are very adventurous, German are very adventurous, Russian are very adventurous. But there are other kind of consumer which are much more careful. For example, American, they will want to be sure about the health and safety before to move, for example. There's a different approach now.
So, Roberto, you hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst. So this twice a month testing, should one of your employees test positive, what are your contingency measures? What happens?
Well, we follow the government protocol. We advise the authority, and we will comply with the quarantine protocol and everything. But if we test before, let's say, this will reduce the risk,
Roberto Simone, the general manager of Villa Rosa Kempinski and also the Olare Mara in the Masai Mara. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much, Eric. Have a great day.
Thank you, and have a great day as well. And all the best to your staff as you prepare to reopen whenever you reopen. We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Eric. See you.
Thank you.
The hotel industry is actually, the hospitality industry. As you can see, he's sounding very optimistic. That's the nature of the hospitality people.
must be optimistic.
You must start from that point.
It's upon that you will survive, really.
An optimistic side.
And I think, but you see, in the hospitality industry, you're looking at these high end like Villa Rosa and all the way to your Kibandaski.
Yep.
So,
all of them.
So if you look at it, they can manage the 1,000 shilling testing and keep putting in all those measures, the additional costs he's talking about. But will your Kibandaski survive this?